Hi, and welcome back to the studio of Art by Wendy. Today, I have a secret drawing tool for you to try out, blenders. Using blenders in your pencil drawings can bring them to life. Let me show you how. Before showing you how to work with blenders, first of all, let's go through the supplies. You've all probably noticed these in the art store. These are your tortillions or blenders, and they're wads of paper. They come in various thicknesses, and you definitely want a variety of them. And as you can see, when they're brand new, they're this nice color with hardly any graphite. But as you use them, they do pick up graphite and it doesn't come off. Not to worry about that. In addition to that, there's some other tools that are very, very helpful in doing blending. This is a color shaper. It's got a rubber tip, and it's really nice to get into little grooves and spots and feels great in your hands. Paintbrush. This is a number 4 round watercolor paintbrush, and it's a fairly decent one, Winsor Newton. And what you want to do is look for a soft brush. You want to dedicate it just for your blending. And as you can see, this brush has lots of graphite on it now too, and has also become quite black with it. In addition to that, there's also a chamois. This is a nice clean chamois, and of course it won't last like that for very long. Pretty soon your chamois will look more like this kind of thing. Lots of graphite here, so it's ready to use. It's better to, I like to use the artist chamois because I understand the chamois that you use for washing cars and things are not quite as clean and as delicate as this. Kleenex, believe it or not, is also a very good blender. It has a bit of fiber in it and it will give you a different blend than the chamois, and sometimes it's very useful. Q-tips are handy as well. They can give you that really soft touch that you're looking for sometimes just to blend the graphite. And again, quite useful. Kneaded eraser, believe it or not, can be used as a blender as well. So that needs to be in your arrangement of supplies. Okay, let's get started. I've got a little poppy here, and I'll just give you some ideas of how working with the blender. There's 2 ways of using blenders. One is to first apply your graphite onto your paper. And here is the darkest part of this poppy, so I'm going to put some graphite here. I'm not going to cover as large an area as I need to because, of course, I'm going to blend this and smooth it out and carry it into other areas. So a tendency is always to do it smaller than where it needs to be, the area it needs to cover. So first of all, you're going to put some graphite down, and then you're going to use your blender to blend it. Now, you don't want to use your blender straight up and down. That will give you a line. And lines can be hard to get rid of, especially when we're dealing with a flower here that we don't want those lines. So I'm going to lay the blender on the side, and I'm starting from the darkest area, and then I'm going to move out and blend it. And so what I'm doing is I'm picking up the graphite that's on the paper, and now I'm putting a bit of pressure on it, and I soften the pressure as I move out so that I can get it dark in here, and you can see it's already losing that texture that we have here. It's getting dark and smooth. And then as I move out, I want it to get lighter and lighter, and so I'm pressing. Now the graphite that's on the blender is now being pulled out, and I'm using it to do the rest of the petal. I'm still not going to the very top because up there I want it even lighter. So I might try with my chamois and just push it up. And you notice I'm doing it in circles because I want to take it almost to the top, and at the same time I'm blending it so that there's no lines or shapes. And as you can see, I've got a nice gradiated edge. Now it needs to be darker in here, so I can go back in, and just in this area where I want it to be darker, I can put in more graphite, and again, smaller area than what I want. And then I'll take a smaller blender, and now I will use it as a point, because now I want to push this in. At the same time, I'm doing it more in a circular manner so I don't end up with a line. So that's one way of using blenders, putting your graphite onto the paper, blending it, and working in layers. Now the other way of using the blenders is to have your graphite separate. And now we're going to use our tool more to do the drawing. So for example, this petal here is very light and the edge of this petal is light. So I'm going to load up my brush with graphite here, and then I'm going to take and put it on over here. And this is a slower, more subtle process, which is what I want, because I don't want a lot of darkness there. So I might have to do this several times in order to get that. Now in this case here, I do want it to be a little bit more than that. So this is not, I'm going to have to take several layers to do that. So to speed up the process, I can load my chamois and just kind of touch it in here to get some more on there. Now at the same time, you have to be careful, because once you load this chamois up, if you put pressure on, you're going to get more darkness than you want. And so I'm just going to keep it light, kind of take it out, use my brush to tidy it up. And then I'll go back and I'll make, touch up some areas, build up the values where I need to build them up. There's a little darkness in here that I need to put as a shadow. Now here I can use this little shaper just to go in to darken this shadow, because I want the shadow to stay right there. I don't want it to move. So I'm just going to put some pressure on it right there. And there's another shadow on the other side, which I haven't addressed yet. Okay, so I'm going to do a bit more, and then I'll come back and show you how it's going to look. Now, as you can see, I finished my little poppy and blended all of the poppy and the little leaves. Now I deliberately put this little band of graphite beside that so that you could see the contrast between the texture of the blended graphite and the texture of an unblended graphite. And of course, just having that contrast really makes this little poppy look like it's glowing a little bit more, and definitely softer than if I had left it with this kind of texture. Anyway, have fun with your blenders, and I look forward to sharing some new things with you from my studio. Have a good day. Wendy teaches outdoor sketching classes in the summer, and she teaches in her studio and online throughout the year. Wendy produces original work in pencil and in watercolor. She completes commission work, particularly pet portraits, and produces cards and prints from some of her work.